Welcome back to the Cap Report. I hope y'all are doing well. We have our first video of 2023, some NFL content here with my 2023 NFL playoff predictions. I know I mainly do MMA videos, but I do enjoy other sports and would like to make videos on those at times as well. That being said, you can expect a UFC 283 prediction video next week. I will say I was originally going to do the entire playoffs in this video, but I'm going to go ahead and just do the wild card round just because I got caught up with work a little more than expected this weekend, procrastinated a little bit, so to get it out in the quality I would like, I'm going to go ahead and just do the wild card round for this. Yeah, we'll get into it. We're going to start off in the AFC and what will likely be the least competitive game in the tournament. As Sunday at 12 Eastern, the 7th seed Miami Dolphins will travel up north to the 2nd seed Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins eked into the playoffs with an 11-6 win over the Jets in Week 18 to claim the final AFC spot. The teams split their matchups earlier in the season. However, in both of those games, the Dolphins had their starting quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who will be out with a concussion in this rubber match between the two. Not only that, but backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is likely out as well with a finger injury, leaving rookie Skylar Thompson to take the role in his third career start. The Dolphins actually have a number of injuries, with 17 players listed on their first injury report for this game, notably having 4 offensive linemen including Teron Armstead and Liam Eichenberg on that list. Raheem Mostert, Bradley Chubb also make the list, but the latter should be able to play at least in a limited capacity. All this together does not bode well for Miami. The Bills have been a name listed in the Super Bowl favorites since the beginning of the season and look to return in stride following the cancellation of their Monday night game with the Bengals due to the whole Damar Hamlin situation. That being said, the Bills are very healthy and hold home field advantage in this game, and they should be able to blow the roof off of Miami with their strong passing game. The Bills are a 9-point favorite, and it's hard to see anything Miami can do to win this. Even a strategy of trying to keep the Bills off the field through long drives and possessions will be difficult, given they could be missing multiple offensive linemen. I think their best bet is to get the ball into the hands of one of the best receiving tandems in the league, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Both those guys are great possession and yards for the catch guys. Look to get the ball to them early and often, with a lot of quick slants, rub routes, even design run looks for them. Your best chance to win is getting the ball in their hands, and that's really your only shot. For the Bills, you just need to not make any crucial mistakes. Don't give away the game. Josh Allen shouldn't end up in the situation where he has to do too much to make any stupid mistakes. In the past, he's made some questionable decisions in the playoffs at times. The Bills' receiving core is so deep that they should have a ton of success there. My prediction for this game is going to be that the Bills win and cover 35-17 and move on to the divisional round. Next up in the AFC, we go to the AFC North on Sunday at 8:15 Eastern, where the 6th seed Baltimore Ravens travel to Cincinnati to take on the 3rd seed Bengals. This is a rematch from just a week ago where the Bengals beat the Ravens 27-16. These division rivals also split their matchups this season, as the Ravens won their first matchup 19-17. It kind of gives me 2020 vibes when the Browns and the Steelers played in back-to-back weeks in the last game of the season and in the first round of the playoffs, but I don't know if we're going to get the same thing here. There's a lot of question marks for this game, which could really affect how it plays. First and foremost, will Lamar play? When I wrote this video, there was still a chance. I think at this point now, it's quite unlikely that he will. He's been recovering from a knee strain from a Week 13 win over the Broncos, and he has the biggest swing in how this game would play out. With him, the game is so much closer for the Ravens. I've heard a lot of mixed things about the status of Lamar heading into this game, but I'm pretty sure at this point it's been confirmed that he's not going to play. The Ravens had quite the injury report this week with 12 guys on there. That being said, 5 of them were non-injury related rest, including Jason Pierre-Paul, Ronnie Stanley, Calais Campbell, Ben Powers, Justin Houston. Beyond that, Gus Edwards and Lamar didn't participate in practice on Wednesday. Marlon Humphrey, Tyler Huntley, and Marcus Peter were limited participants, and that's a lot of important names. The Bengals only have 3 notable names. Guard Alex Kappa was a non-participant and will likely not play this week. T. Higgins was non-participant due to illness, and corner Cam Taylor-Britt was limited. What does this all mean? The Ravens could be playing with or without their starter. It could be a starter or a third string. As I said, at this point, though, it does look like it's not going to be Lamar playing. Their top 2 corners are dinged up as well, which matters considering the strength of the Bengals receiving core as well. With all that being said, I still think this is the toughest matchup for the Bengals in the playoffs. The Ravens have a strong defense, and it played well and played an important role in keeping the Week 18 matchup between these two teams close. They have talent at corner to match up with the Bengals' receiving core as well. On offense at times, it feels like they lack in weapons, but it feels like no matter who they put out at running back, they're going to eat. They have the ability to hold on to the ball, eat into the clock, create a close game by limiting possessions, playing bend-don't-break defense, and forcing timely turnover. And in my opinion, that's their likeliest path to victory in this game. Even with a backup or a third-string quarterback, you can kind of follow this, you know what I mean? And they'll also have Mark Andrews back, who didn't play. They rested him in their Week 18 matchup, which will be a great, safety blanket for a backup quarterback. For the Bengals, they feel like a very complete team to me. They shored up the offensive line for the most part. They have a great receiving core and elite quarterback. The running game isn't the greatest, but it gets it done when needed. And likewise, the defense is playing well. How they approach this game might depend on who's starting for the Ravens. If it's Anthony Brown or Tyler Huntley, then make them beat you. I'd stack the box, force them to throw it on you, and if it's Lamar, you still might be able to follow this strategy just because he wouldn't be 100%. But point being is, if I was the Bengals, I would make the Ravens beat you throwing the ball. The line for this game, I believe, is Cincinnati minus 8.5, which I honestly think that the Ravens can cover with or without Lamar. My prediction for this game is that's going to be a small scoring slugfest where the Bengals come away with it 20-13 and then move on to the divisional round. Next up, we have the final wildcard matchup for the AFC, a primetime matchup on Saturday night at 8:15 Eastern in Duval County, where the 5th seed Los Angeles Chargers travel to take on the 4th seed Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a really interesting matchup. I think most people would agree it's the closest / biggest toss-up in the first round of the playoffs in the AFC. There's a good chance to be the best game this weekend. I have to give it to the Jaguars. I'll give them credit. They've done a lot better than I've expected them to do this season. Bringing Doug Peterson has done wonders for this team. They come into this game winning 5 straight. The Chargers had the 5th seed wrapped up, but surprisingly played their starters for most of their game last week in a loss to Denver. It caused a little bit of controversy following the injury of Mike Williams, who had to be helped off the field and then reportedly had to be helped out of the stadium too. It's been an up and down year for the Chargers involving a lot of injuries, so this isn't anything new for them, and they have found ways to win despite it for most of the year. And looking at the injury reports for these teams, the Chargers had 8 guys listed, including Joey Bosa, but all of them were full participants in practice, other than Mike Williams, who hasn't practiced yet this week. Coach Staley said the injury wasn't as bad as it seemed, but it's concerning that Williams didn't even have a limited participation in practice, though the Chargers could just be being very cautious with him, but I doubt that he plays this week. The Jaguars had 6 players listed, 5 of which were limited participants, including Trevor Lawrence, Jamal Agnew, Brandon Scherf. All these guys are questionable for the matchup, but I think you'll see them play even if it's in a limited capacity. These teams met once earlier this season where the Jaguars won by blowout, 38-10 in week 3. Though both of those teams are different now from then, the Jags have meshed as a team a lot more, but that was also the peak of the Chargers' injuries this season. Both Herbert and Lawrence will be starting their first career playoff games in this game. And now looking at past the victory of both these teams, we'll start with the Chargers. Despite losing Mike Williams for this game, I think their most important piece outside of Herbert is finally getting going in Keenan Allen. He lost so much of this year to a hamstring injury, but he's gotten going towards the end of the season, and he's just such a reliable piece for Herbert, and he has a positive matchup this week. I think he'll really be key for the Chargers. Gerald Everett will also look to be another important piece as the Jags have struggled against tight ends this season. The biggest issue will be getting Austin Eckler involved, as the Jaguars are one of the best teams in the league against receiving backs. So how do the Chargers approach this game? A lot of looks to Allen and Everett, as I said, and don't allow Austin Eckler to get washed out of this game. Even if you aren't having a lot of success, make sure you're going to him and you're still getting him looks, because he can be such a home run hitter that you don't take the opportunity away from yourself to score something, for him to break something big. If Bosa's good to go this week and didn't have any serious setbacks last week, then he and Khalil Mack will be crucial to the Chargers' success this game as well. I think those two getting to Lawrence will be crucial in keeping the Jaguars' offense somewhat stagnant and from really being able to score that much. I think the Jaguars' offense is a little overrated, so I think that you'll be able to, if those two can get going, that is going to cause a lot of issues for them. And for the Jaguars, the plus matchup here is the running the ball. Travis Etienne should be able to go off against this poor Chargers rushing defense. I'd run their offense through him, open things up for Trevor Lawrence that way, and slow down the Chargers pass rush. On defense, taking away Austin Eckler will be huge for the Jags. He's a huge part of the offense, and taking him out could really limit the offense if the Jags can get some positive play out of their corners as well. The line on this game is -1.5 to the Chargers, which I agree with. I think that this game will be back and forth, but the Chargers will win an instant classic, 27-24. And this leaves us with the divisional matchups for the AFC being the Bengals at the Bills and the Chargers at the Chiefs. But we'll go ahead and move over to the NFC and look at the NFC wildcard games now. We start off at 4:30 Eastern on Sunday, where the 7th seed Seahawks travel to San Francisco, and they'll take on their division rivals, the 2nd seed 49ers. The Niners beat the Seahawks twice already this season, and this feels like the easiest pick of the games, but to be fair, the Seahawks weren't even supposed to be here, and you have to give them credit for that. These are two teams moving in different directions, as the 49ers are riding a 10-game win streak into the playoffs, and the Seahawks have looked worse than they had much of the season these last few games going into the playoffs. 49ers are just a really bad matchup for the Seahawks as well. Seattle's got 9 guys on the injury report, notably including Xavier Crawford, Shelby Harris, Phil Hayes as non-participants. Kenneth Walker's on that list as well, but it's being reported that it's more for rest than it is an indication of being unlikely to play, which is huge, as he'll be a massive factor to the Seahawks' chances in winning this game. The Niners have 6 guys listed as limited participants, a couple moving in a positive direction, but the list includes Christian McCaffrey, Eric Armstead, and Dre Greenlaw. There's a high chance of rain and heavy winds, which could really impact this game, and in my opinion, it helps the Seahawks' chances a lot. The 49ers have too many weapons for the Seahawks, in my opinion, to keep up with, but with bad weather, it could limit the 49ers' offensive creativity and ability. Moving into passive victory, we'll start with the Seahawks. Kenneth Walker will be a huge factor for the Seahawks' success. However, the 49ers do have the best rush defense in the league. Their best bet is to stick with the run game, and in bad weather, hope Geno makes a couple plays here and there. He really needs to just take care of the ball. They can't afford to give an offense as good as San Francisco extra possessions. Brock Purdy has yet to really look like a rookie and have a bad game. If the Seahawks can create that kind of scenario, it would be huge for them as well. They have a great corner tandem in Michael Jackson and Tariq Woolen. I think way better than people would have expected for them at this point. And so if either of those guys guys can just, cause a couple extra breakups, pull an interception out of nowhere here or there, maybe get, just break Purdy's poise a little bit. For the 49ers, this game is likely to win however they want to. In inclement weather, they might have to run a more basic offense, but with heavy doses of McCaffrey and Debo, running the ball should still be enough for them to win the game. If their defense can even hold Walker to an average game or make Geno throw the ball to beat them in bad weather, it will hugely help their chances. San Francisco's a minus 10-point favorite here, and I think that it's highly dependent on the weather. If it's not anything crazy, I think they'll cover. If it's heavy rain or anything like that, I still feel like they'll win comfortably. The score might be a little closer than it really looks. My prediction is going to be 49ers win 24-16. Next up, on Sunday at 4:30 Eastern, we have a rematch of one of the games of the season, as the 6-seed New York Giants travel to Minnesota to take on the 3rd-seed Vikings. This should be a really fun matchup, and it will be really interesting to see how it varies from the last time these two teams played, which wasn't that long ago, Christmas Eve. The Vikings won that game 27-24 on a 61-yard game-winning field. That being said, the two teams have gone in opposite directions since this game. The Vikings getting blown out by the Packers, and then getting one back in a bit of a meaningless game against the Bears to end the season. The Giants went on to blow out the Colts, and then played the Eagles quite close despite resting their starters. The Vikings had 3 players on their initial injury report: center Garrett Bradbury, safety Harrison Smith, and linebacker Brian Asamoah. Bradbury is questionable if he plays, but Harrison Smith is expected to play. The Giants had 5 limited participants, being center John Feliciano, corner Adoree Jackson, linebacker Azeez Ojulari, safety Jason Pinnock, and Leonard Williams. Both Jackson and Williams are expected to play, which would be huge returns for this Giants defense. Looking at how the Vikings can win it, turnovers will be a big one. The Giants don't turn over the ball very much. Patrick Peterson's interception in the first game made a big difference, and they should look to feed Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson, as the Giants have led up pretty lofty numbers to tight ends all this season for Hawkinson. Jefferson, just, he's your guy, you have to feed him. I think that with the injuries on this Vikings offensive line, and given that the defensive line is a strength for the Giants, the Vikings should look for a lot of screens to Jefferson and Cook, quick passes as well, to keep the kind of pass rush from being effective and really getting to Kirk Cousins. And then other than that, you're going to play just a lot of similarly to how you played before. I mean, that last game was a shootout. For the Giants, I think they can play a similar game to the last time these two played. They had success throwing the ball due to the pass defense being one of the weaknesses of the Vikings, and through the emergence of Isaiah Hodgins as well, they've been able to throw the ball a little more. So I think they could play a more prominent role in this game. So I think that it could play a more prominent role in this game than it has for most of their season. But they should look to keep the run-heavy approach, running both Saquon and Daniel Jones, as they've been such an effective tandem to stop. On the defensive side, I wouldn't blitz as much as they did the first time around, as Kirk Cousins has just been effective against the blitz this season. I honestly think that the Giants could drop the extra players and rush forward with how good their defensive line is, and still, have a bit of a positive matchup there. With all that being said, I do think this will be another great back and forth matchup. The Vikings are 3-point favorites, which I can understand, and I think that the Giants will take this game 24-17. I just think they are healthier this time around compared to the Vikings, and they'll be able to take advantage of some positive matchups better, and they're also riding momentum. I will say too that the Vikings are 8-0 in the one possession games, and I think that eventually that you can't rely on, those games can be such toss-ups that eventually it's going to come back to get you, you know what I mean? And then finally, we have our last wildcard matchup at 8:15 Eastern on Monday, where the 5th seed Cowboys travel to take on the 4th seed Buccaneers, a rematch from Week 1. This is a game that I've gone back and forth on a ton on who I think will win it. The Bucs saw a couple of limited participants in their practice, Vita Vea and Logan Ryan. They seem 50-50, and Nick Leverett, who's trending in the wrong direction, one of their offensive linemen. Only DeMarcus Lawrence and Tyron Smith have been limited in practice for the Cowboys, and I have a hard time getting a number on this Bucs team this year. For quite some time, their offense was pretty rough, but it has seemed to got a lot better towards the end of the season. They still struggle to run the ball though, and there are definitely some concerns on that offensive line. Their best bet in this game might just be to air it out to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and hope for the best. Godwin's been a bit of a target machine since getting healthy, and Evans has had some pretty big yardage games towards the end of the season as well. On defense, they'll just have to take advantage of a season where Dak has led the league in interceptions despite missing several games. And for the Cowboys, keep a balanced offense. Look for that combo of Tony Pollard and Zeke. The Bucs are middle of the pack against the run, so you should be able to have success in that area to at least an extent. I just feel for the Cowboys, you just need to make it where Dak doesn't have to win you this game. Don't put it on his shoulder. They have a better roster here, and I think they just need to win it. I think they just need to play a complete game to win it. The line is Dallas by 2.5, which I agree with. I do think the game is that close. And although I think the Cowboys have somewhat struggled the past 2 or 3 weeks, I do think they pull out the win here 21-20. But as I said, this one's probably the most difficult for me to get a read on in terms of who's going to win it. I really could see ways for both of these teams to win it. I just don't trust the Buccaneers offense right now. And as I said, I just think the Cowboys are just a more complete team. And with those results, I would have the NFC divisional round as the Giants at the Eagles and the Cowboys at the 49ers. As I said, I want to get this video out before the game starts, so I'm going to just keep this to the wild card round, but I will make another video tagging on to the end of this that will be my predictions for the rest of the playoffs, how I would see them play out. But that being said, we're at the end of the video. I appreciate y'all for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Comment what you think is going to happen in the playoffs, your predictions, your thoughts on my predictions, anything like that. If you like seeing NFL videos or you want to see more, this has been the Cap Report. Let's enjoy the playoffs, y'all.